Welcome to the Vegas Insider channel here on YouTube. As we look ahead to the NASCAR playoffs, they begin this weekend at Darlington Raceway, Darlington, South Carolina. And it is the Cookout Southern 500. Kevin Rogers with you, joined by Micah Roberts. He's been around the NASCAR game a long time as an odds maker and also from the handicapping perspective. So it's good to have Micah with us. And Micah, before we get to the race on Sunday, last week at Daytona, the crazy finish in which we saw a better $13 he spent on a 4-team parlay. He hit it. It won $1 million. You had four drivers that maybe aren't some of the top drivers that ended up winning, or he ended up winning the ticket with that. You ever see anything like that before?
No, never. I think in Vegas forever, we capped off 600 to 1 odds, and that would be it. And so we capped it off because of big price items like this that could happen. And Daytona, it's such a volatile track. So that apparently was not put into the equation that these guys could finish in the top 10. And that's how they were. They were just guys at the bottom that were waiting around that got lucky because pretty much 3/4 of the field got crashed out. And when the race ended, they had top 10 finishes, career highs for a lot of them, and it cashed in. So it worked out perfectly for this bettor. And the bettor obviously knew the volatile nature of the track and said, what the hell? I think it was a free roll too, a promo bet, and cashed. And I was glad to see no problem payouts. I think it was FanDuel. And they said, boy, this is, do we have something in there that says we can't pay out on a promo bet or something? Nope, did not do that. They paid it out, and we respect them for that.
So now we begin, Micah, the playoffs, which we saw start a few years ago. You're going to end up getting down to the final four at the end. But for those that are new to NASCAR and wagering on NASCAR, explain how the playoff works.
You start out with 16 drivers that qualified based on winning during the regular season, 26 races, or accumulating the most points along the way. And this year we had so many drivers, 16 drivers, but Kurt Busch bailed out of it because of his concussion symptoms. So there were 15 drivers that qualified on a win, and then one driver that qualified on points. That was Ryan Blaney. And every 3 races for the next 10 weeks, every 3 races, 4 drivers will be eliminated till we eventually get to Phoenix on November 3rd, and there will be the final 4 drivers. They'll all get a little horsepower boost, I think 10 extra horsepower for that race. So one of those 4 will probably win the race because they'll have the fastest car compared to the others. And that's okay. I like seeing that. I like seeing the final race being won by the champion to win. And the best finish wins. But usually, I think the last 7-8 years, the champion has won the race because of that extra horsepower boost over the rest of the field.
Now, the next-gen cars, this is something that's been new to NASCAR this year. How has that affected these drivers?
It's affected everything. It's affected the point where the car is brand new, and it's tough for some of these teams to excel at the same way they did. Take, for instance, Denny Hamlin. He's been one of the best at Martinsville, one of the best at Darlington, and he struggled at both this season. And that's unheard of. I mean, I've been watching him run these since 2006, and he's been one of the best, and he just can't get around it. And I heard him explain it a little bit. Part of it's because of the horsepower. You know, they were running with 800 and 900 horsepower cars in the past at these tracks, and you just get a better feel for it. So now it's a little less, and they're just not performing well. But what the car has done is made it so you can't really have a sneaky advantage. And I don't want to say, I call it creative engineering. Other people call it cheating. But if you're not cheating in NASCAR, you're not trying. And that's just the way it's been. It's been like that since the first race at Darlington, the first Southern 500 in 1950. That is just the nature of the game in NASCAR, which was born from moonshine running. You just have to have a little sneaky cheat in there, and everybody rolls along with it. And finally, somebody finds out the secret, and everybody tries it. And now the car is almost cheat-proof. And we saw Denny Hamlin have his Pocono win taken away because of just one small little piece that was different from the template. So it's harder to cheat now. It's harder to get that edge. And the problem we've seen now is the teams like Hendrick and Gibbs that were up here forever, they've dropped down to the middle. And the teams down here like RCR with Dillon and Reddick and some of these other teams, they've been elevated. Even Richard Petty's car has run well this year with Eric Jones driving. So it's become more diverse. It's become more. It's not heavy weighted like it's been for at least the last 30, 40 years in NASCAR, where the top teams are expected to win. You have a chance to win, and we've seen that 16 different drivers won in the first 26 races. That is unheard of for me.
Now, Denny Hamlin, that's one of the drivers we're going to focus on for Sunday here, Micah, and he's at 7-1 odds. He won this race last year, and you mentioned the struggles he had a little earlier this year at this track. But what do you think about Denny Hamlin's chances here to repeat?
I don't like his chances at all, and I think I bet him every race ever at Darlington since he's come into the league, and he's got 4 wins. He's got 11 top 5s, lots of laps led, but it's one of those things, the car is just not comfortable. Now, maybe they got something settled for the playoffs. Maybe they've got an upgrade somehow or figured it out. But they've been really good on the 1.5 mile and 2 mile tracks, and that's been kind of a Gibbs staple this year. But on the smaller tracks, they haven't got it. And even though Darlington's only 1.366 miles in distance, I still consider it more like a mile track. I don't consider it like the cookie cutter ovals. And that's where Hamlin's definitely shown speed at. So, but he can still, have a good finish here. I think he's probably looking for a top 10 and know that he can win next week at Kansas. He's got Texas in the round of 12, and he's got Las Vegas and Homestead in the round of 8. So he's got to be optimistic that he's got 4 races there where he knows he could probably have a top 5 car able to win and still get in the playoffs. But then you got Phoenix. And that's going to be a problem, too, because that falls into the category of a mile track where the team has not been on it. And by the way, he won at Richmond earlier this year, too, but he had to do it like some of the smaller teams or pit strategy. You got on a different sequence from everybody, and he was just ahead and got the win. So that's unlike him. I haven't seen that out of him. And we've seen Kyle Busch with them. Martin Truex didn't want to race at all this season. Kyle Busch's only win was on the dirt race. And so there's some frustration there on these types of tracks for the Joe Gibbs guys that have pretty much always done well on them.
Now, the favorite to win the playoff is Chase Elliott, Micah, and he has never won at Darlington, but right now he's at 8-1 odds to win on Sunday. He's got 4 wins this season. What do you think about Chase's chances on Sunday?
I think he'll probably have a top 5 car contending for the win. And see how it goes there. And it's a tough track. The lady in black she doesn't care if you're good or bad or whatever. You just respect it, and she'll get you. And she's too tough to tame. That's what they say. She gives Darlington stripes. That's when you ride up alongside of the wall and get your car painted a little bit with her paint. So got to treat it with respect. And he's never won there, but he'll eventually win. He never won at Atlanta either, and he won there this year. The thing I like about Elliott, unlike his teammates Larson, Byron, and Bowman, is that he's been good on all the tracks. It doesn't matter. And the craziest thing is he hasn't won on the road course. This is a guy with 7 road course wins in his career. It's all road course now in NASCAR the last 2 years. And he's gone 9 races without winning on a road course, which is crazy because last year his only 2 wins were on road courses. So you kind of see the change or difference with the car, the next-gen car, to what used to be run. But Elliott I think his team has figured out the best. Also Trackhouse Racing with Chastain and Daniel Suarez.
Kyle Larson, you just mentioned him, Micah. He's at 6-1 odds to win 5 top 10 finishes at Darlington in his career. And Kyle Larson right behind Chase Elliott as the favorite to win the whole thing. What do you think about Kyle Larson on Sunday?
The first thing I thought when I saw the number was that we were in a time warp. We're in last season. Is this last season sheet? Is this last season odds? Are they just reposting the order of finish from last season or the odds that they posted? Because first of all, he's never won at Darlington, right? Even when he was dominating, he had 10 wins last season. He had 2 runner-ups at Darlington, but he's never won on it. And he runs a good line. He runs a smart line around the track, rim riding up along the top. But the idea that this season is going to be the same as last season is laughable. 2022 has been tough on him. 10 top 5s on the season, yes, but only 2 wins. And this is something that just, when I looked at the odds sheet, I was like, what was this? This isn't 2022. This is 2021, right? And so I had to look at it, and it looked like a lot of the books were doing the same thing. So I don't know if they're sharing, copying, or whatever, but they put him at the top, and there's one driver that is going that is just way overpriced. And We'll talk about that soon, but he's huge value this week. He should actually be the favorite in this race based on what he's done in the last 4 weeks.
Now, in your article, Mike, on Vegas Insider, breaking down this race, you do a great job of a breakdown of basically all the drivers, but you have your top 5 prediction, and the guy who you have to win the whole thing is not one of the favorites, but it's a name we know. Who do you like to win the race coming up on Sunday night?
Kevin Harvick. I would have made him the 7-1 favorite. I would have put Larson and Elliott behind at like 8 and Hamlin like 9 or 10-1, Chastain 10, Reddick at 10, 12, 13. But to put Kevin Harvick after, he had a 65 race winless streak. You can't hold that against him because they just found speed. They found speed at Michigan and they found speed at Richmond, 2 completely different tracks, and they were great at both. And he's been running well. In fact, he finished 4th in the first Darlington race when they didn't have speed. He's a 3-time winner at Darlington, 13 top 5s. He's got like 812 laps led, but 2 of his 3 wins have come in the last 6 races at Darlington. And now he's got momentum from winning 2 races in the last 4 races run in the regular season, comes into the playoffs. He's 12-1, 14-1 to win the championship. I think this guy has so much motivation going for him and so much inner pain from that 65. That's covered 3 seasons, 65 race winless streak, that he is rejuvenated. And they call him the closer. I think he's going to close out a win in this race. I think 16-1. I saw the highest at the BetMGM or Caesars, one of those. I mean, that is just a gift. That's a gift just to, even if you don't follow NASCAR, throw $10 on it, $20 on it, and just watch some football, whatever, and look at the paper the next morning, see if you won.
Micah Roberts, always a great job covering the NASCAR circuit. You can check out his article on the Cookout Southern 500. It is Sunday at Darlington Raceway, so you have a little bit something else to watch. You don't want to watch football, but Micah breaks down all the drivers and what he thinks, who's going to win. He loves Kevin Harvick coming up on Sunday night. Micah, thank you so much for the time, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thanks for having me.
That is Micah Roberts. I am Kevin Rogers. Thanks a lot for watching. And as always, best of luck with your bets.